Every Tuesday, an elderly man in a denim apron repaired shoes in a sleepy corner of town. Most thought he was just a quiet cobbler. Until a group of tourists went missing in the nearby national park, and this man, with a homemade radio and a map drawn from memory, found them before search and rescue even arrived. When asked how, he simply said, "I used to track hostels in the Hindu Kush. Terrain's terrain." Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from. And don't forget to like the video. In the corner of Ellensburg's Old Market Square sat a repair shop barely wider than a pickup truck. No neon sign. No online listing. Just a wooden placard overhead. Morgan's Fix-It. Most assumed it was a key cutter's place. Maybe cobbler work. A few old boots in the window. Dusty hiking packs. Binoculars with cracked lenses. And behind the counter, a man in his 70s. Broad shoulders. Thick hands. Quiet eyes. Locals called him Mr. Morgan, though no one knew if that was his first or last name. He rarely spoke. Wore the same denim apron. Same gray knit cap. You brought him broken things, he gave them back working. Radios. Boots. Watch bands. Compass pins. Kids said he could fix anything that had a past. Tourists never paid much attention. Until one Friday, 4 of them went missing. They'd set off into Langdon Ridge before sunrise. Young, eager, underdressed. By nightfall, search and rescue was scrambling. Fog rolled in. Radios failed. GPS lost signal. The town tensed. Then Mr. Morgan locked up his shop. No flashlight. No backpack. Just a map. A vintage radio. And boots older than most of the deputies. He walked toward the ridge without a word. By dawn, he returned, leading all 4 hikers, shivering but alive. One carried a flare. Another clutched a canvas sling. When asked how he found them, Mr. Morgan replied, "They made noise. Terrain holds echoes." And then, storms shifting. They'd have frozen by sunrise. He handed off a hand-drawn map to the search captain, marking wind paths, echo points, even predator zones. The captain asked, "Who are you?" Morgan shrugged. "Used to work uphill. Farther east." No details. He returned to his shop. Reopened as if nothing happened. But the hikers posted online. Photos. A video clip. One shot of Morgan crouched beside a signal cairn, adjusting a pocket antenna that looked welded from salvage parts. Comments poured in. "Dude tracked us like he smelled the mountain. My dad was 10th Mountain. He'd say this guy's old school elite. He never even asked our names. Just said, 'You cold? Move.'" Tourists started stopping by. "Are you the guy from Langdon?" Morgan always replied the same way. "I fix things." Some people don't wear uniforms anymore. But they still march toward the storm when others freeze. If someone like that ever pulled you out of the woods, literally or not, type "found me" in the comments. After the rescue, Morgan's shop got busier. Not crowded, just visited more deliberately. Hikers came with broken straps and foggy compasses. Locals brought in old transistor radios and watches from forgotten drawers. He fixed each one. Never charged more than a few dollars. If someone tried to tip him, he'd point to the corkboard behind the register. "Put it toward the next one who can't pay," he'd say. No one argued. Then one day, a boy named Caleb brought in a drone controller. Bent. Dead signal. Morgan squinted at it. "Too many layers. Needs a simpler channel. You can fix it? I can teach you to fix it." That afternoon, they sat side by side over solder smoke and copper coils. Caleb listened. Morgan taught, without seeming to teach. Like memory lived in motion, not lecture. By sundown, the controller blinked to life. Caleb stared. "Where'd you learn all this?" Morgan handed him a tattered notebook. Inside, hand-drawn diagrams. Mountain ridge lines. Elevation notches. Signal bounce markers. "This isn't drone work," Caleb said. "It's tracking." Morgan nodded once. "Afghanistan." Morgan didn't answer. But his hand twitched, just once, over a line labeled Coast Valley. Later that week, the sheriff stopped by the shop. Brought a cracked trail radio used by SR units. Morgan fixed it in under 2 minutes. Sheriff watched him work. "You ever think about joining our volunteer squad?" "Too old. Too fast," the sheriff said. "You found those kids before we even triangulated." Morgan shrugged. Still had the right boots. He handed the radio back. "Signal bounces hard on Langdon's west face. Don't rely on GPS after sundown." The sheriff raised an eyebrow. "You mapped it?" Morgan nodded toward a drawer. Inside, dozens of maps. All hand-drawn. Annotated with detail no topo software offered. Wind shear corridors, echo traps, avalanche dead zones. None were dated. Some were in languages no one recognized at first glance. And under them all, wrapped in waxed cloth, was an old ID badge. Faded. Torn. But one word still read clear. Reconnaissance. If you've ever met someone who's 10 steps ahead because they've walked the path the hard way, say I trust him in the comments. Some experience doesn't show up on resumes. It shows up when lives depend on it. By Thursday, Morgan's reputation had outgrown his windowless shop. A hiking group from Oregon stopped by with topo maps, asking for route suggestions. He circled 3 paths, marked safe after rain, and handed back the pen without a word. An older man brought a compass that hadn't worked since the 1980s. Morgan tapped it twice, adjusted a screw, and set it on a smooth plate. It spun, settled, pointed true north. The man just stared. I thought this was junk. Not junk, Morgan said. Just tired. That phrase stuck. Later, Caleb repeated it at school when his science teacher joked about antique tech. Not junk. Just tired, he said. Sometimes old things still guide best. Morgan never heard it, but if he had, he might have smiled. That same evening, a helicopter flew over Langdon Ridge. Search and rescue again. 2 hikers overdue. Weather turning fast. The chopper circled once, then veered off. Fuel running low. Fog rolling in. The SAR base called town leadership. But before they could meet, Morgan had already left. Sheriff caught him outside the station. You heading up? Morgan checked the sky. East face. They're on foot. No light. I'll get them. Need backup. Just leave the station repeater open. He walked into the dark with nothing but a pack, a pencil flashlight, and a compass from the same drawer as his maps. At 2:43 a.m., the repeater crackled. 2 found. Cold, but mobile. 1 rolled ankle. Request rope assist. The sheriff stared at the mic. How'd he find them in this soup? No one answered. Back at the shop the next day, someone slipped a thank you card under the door. Inside, a photo, the 2 hikers, wrapped in blankets, smiling at dawn. On the back, we screamed. Thought no one heard. But he did. Morgan pinned it to the wall behind the register. Next to it, a patch appeared days later. Unlabeled. Faded green. But anyone who served recognized it. 75th Ranger Regiment. He never acknowledged it. Just left it there. Some people carry patches, not for pride, but to remember what they promised when no one was watching. If someone you know still honors a silent vow made years ago, drop a still keeps it in the comments. That Saturday, a woman arrived at the shop just before closing. Wore trail gear, boots scuffed with real use. Hair in a braid. Eyes sharp. She stepped inside, looked around, then walked straight to the counter. You're Sergeant First Class Daniel Morgan, aren't you? He froze. For the first time since anyone in Ellensburg could remember, he didn't answer right away. She continued. Recon and long-range surveillance, 2nd Battalion, 75th Rangers. Cost, Paktika, Karangal. I was one of your drone techs in '08. Lieutenant Allen. I worked uplink when you tracked the 6-man team out of Olicon. Still silence. Then he said, you look taller without the helmet. She laughed. You sound the same. The door swung shut behind her. Caleb watched through the window, confused. Inside, they spoke quietly. She pulled out a folder. They're asking for you. Not to deploy. To train. Field readiness. Small town SAR units. Fire coordination. You've mapped terrain better than satellites. Morgan shook his head. I'm done. Dan. He looked up sharply. I'm not Dan anymore. Not out here. She backed off. Left the folder anyway. Next morning, Caleb found the shop locked, early, but the back door was cracked. He stepped in. Saw Morgan at the table, maps spread everywhere. Military grids. Civilian overlays. Hand-drawn terrain routes intersecting digital diagrams. Caleb spotted an open envelope. Inside, a dog tag. It read, Morgan, Daniel. OPOS. U.S. Army. 75th RGR. Caleb looked up. Is this who you were? Morgan folded the maps. No. This is who I had to be. Caleb asked, who are you now? Morgan paused, then handed him a marker. Let's draw a new map. If someone you know once put away a past that defined them, so they could become something better, quieter, stronger, type he chose peace in the comments. Some warriors are rebuilt by what they save, not what they survive. Word spread. Not from Morgan. From those he'd helped. Sheriff Martin mentioned his name once during a town hall. Daniel Morgan. The man who finds people before the storm does. That was all it took. By Tuesday, 3 more hikers arrived at the shop. One brought a topographic map and asked for safe campsites. Another brought a broken field radio with initials etched into the side. DM Morgan fixed it without a word. He no longer denied who he was. But he didn't advertise either. That afternoon, Lieutenant Allen returned. You sure about your answer? Morgan looked up. You already knew it. We're building a national SAR model. Rural-focused. Off-grid capable. The Pentagon's watching. I'm watching Langdon Ridge. She tried again. You trained us all, sir. Taught us terrain patterns, echo tracking. You found me when the desert swallowed our uplink team. Morgan closed a drawer. Then you already know what to do. She stood, disappointed but respectful. As she left, Caleb watched her pass and asked, why won't he go back? Allen looked him in the eye. Because he never really left. He just changed uniforms. That evening, a storm hit early. 2 young hikers were caught on the West Trail, same one Morgan once warned was unstable after thaw. He was already gone before the call hit dispatch. Caleb found the shop dark, radio buzzing. Morgan's pack missing. But on the bench lay a note. 2 on the ridge. They don't know it's shifting. I'll bring them back. 3 hours later, the repeater lit up. Found them. Sheltered near Crook Hollow. North route washed. Recommend flare drop. Morgan returned at dawn. Soaked. Silent. He walked past the sheriff without a word. Into the shop. Lit the stove. Boiled water for tea. Caleb waited a few minutes, then followed. You okay? Morgan nodded. Slipped once. Learned something. What? Morgan handed him a revised map. One trail erased. Another added. You can't stop a mountain. But you can teach someone how to see it coming. Some people never stop serving. They just change how they deliver the rescue. If you know someone who stayed in the field long after they retired, type he never left in the comments. The following week, something changed in Morgan's shop. Not visibly, but in feeling. He started leaving the back door unlocked. Letting Caleb file maps. Letting hikers linger. He even added a second stool beside his workbench. One morning, Caleb found a corkboard pinned with patches, unit insignias, all weathered. Below each one, Morgan had written names. Not ranks. Just names. Some had stars drawn next to them. Caleb asked, what are the stars for? Morgan replied quietly, people who didn't make it back to fix boots. That afternoon, the mayor stopped by. Daniel, she began, hesitantly. He looked up. I want to nominate you for the State Civilian Hero Citation. No. It would mean, I don't need more paper. I've got maps. She left the nomination on the counter anyway. He used the back to sketch a ridge. That evening, Morgan sat on the shop steps with Caleb. Watched fog roll down the mountain. You know, Morgan said, we used to say, a real recon doesn't report terrain. He becomes it. Caleb nodded slowly. You don't live in this town. You are part of it. Morgan smiled faintly. The next day, a stranger arrived. Young. Nervous. Held a crumpled envelope. Sir, my dad served with you. He told me if I ever felt lost, to find the man who drew paths before others knew there was danger. Morgan looked at the envelope. Opened it. Inside, a single photo. For men. Desert backdrop. Smiling. Morgan in the middle, looking exactly as he does now, except standing straighter. Son behind him. Map in hand. He folded the photo and tucked it into the drawer beneath the register. Then handed the kid a compass. Start walking early. Turn back before fog. Where should I go? Morgan pointed at the hills. Anywhere you're not afraid to leave. Some people don't build legacies by speaking loudly. They build it in others. If someone in your life left you with wisdom instead of orders, direction instead of fame, type his map lives in the comments. By mid-autumn, something shifted. Morgan's walks got shorter. He checked the ridgeline less often. His hands, once steady as compass needles, now trembled when threading wire. One afternoon, Caleb found him asleep at the workbench, a radio still humming beside him. He didn't wake easily. That night, the sheriff stopped by. You all right? Morgan nodded, too quickly. I'm fine. You've done enough, Dan. You can rest. Morgan looked at the sheriff, eyes firm. I rest when nobody's lost. But the next day, he didn't open the shop. Nor the day after. Locals knocked. No answer. On the third morning, Caleb used the spare key. Inside, nothing seemed wrong. Everything in its place. But the stove was cold. And on the workbench, one final note. If you're reading this, I've gone quiet. But the signal's yours now. Teach the map, not the man. Pinned beside it, the photo from Cost. Folded dog tag. The notebook of terrain maps. And underneath it all, a package labeled. Langdon Ridgefield Kit. For Caleb. The boy opened it slowly. Inside. Hand-built radio. Custom compass. Topo maps, laminated. A small, faded patch. 75th Ranger, recon tab intact. And a hand-drawn schematic labeled the signal path you are. That weekend, the town held a silent gathering on the trailhead. No speeches. Just quiet steps along the ridge. One by one, people pinned trail markers where Morgan had once led them, safely, silently. Some wore patches. Others carried maps. And all of them followed a trail that was never official, but always right. That night, a flare lit over the summit. Brief. Red. Fading. Caleb saw it from his window. He didn't cry. He turned on the radio. It pulsed once. Then crackled alive. Field's yours now, Junior. If someone in your life once trained you not to follow, but to lead when they were gone, type map passed in the comments. Some signals never die. They just wait for the next hand to answer. Winter came to Ellensburg without noise. Snow filled the ridgelines Morgan once walked, and the wind carried no footsteps. But inside the fix-it shop, still unlocked, still dustless, the radio stayed on. Not playing music. Just listening. Caleb kept the bench warm. He repaired headlamps, soldered antennas, and circled safe routes in pencil like Morgan taught him. He never claimed to replace the man. He just kept the light steady. Locals still came. Left boots, maps, quiet thank yous. One day, a child wandered in, wide-eyed, holding a cracked compass. Caleb fixed it in silence. Then said, "Follow it carefully. But trust what your eyes see first." The boy nodded, like he understood something larger. And then, as he left, he asked, what was his real name? Caleb didn't answer. He just turned to the back wall, where the old corkboard now held a single marker-written line. The trail doesn't need a name, only someone willing to walk it. If someone gave you direction that still shapes how you live, even if they're gone, say their name in the comments. Or just write thank you. Let's keep their map alive. If you like this story, please like and subscribe to the channel. Let YouTube promote stories of kindness.